Okay, well, welcome to the YPPN. Those that are watching online after the fact, this is a very exciting presentation that we have from the team at FYA, Foundation for Young Australians, in partnership with Hume City Council, that have recently recruited their first youth council as part of the Young Mayors program. So I'd like to welcome Siyoda and Mehak to the YPPN, and I'll pass over to you now both. And I might just pop in at the end for Q&A if that is helpful. Otherwise, you'll just see me after the presentation.
I've come off mute, so hopefully you can all hear me now, and you can see the screen as well. Just give me a thumbs up for that one. Yep, amazing. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for having us and joining to learn more about the Young Mayors program today, and alongside Hume Youth Council, or sorry, alongside Hume Youth Services, talking about Hume Youth Council, which is kind of like our, I guess, case study for this year, and it's the most recent one we've recruited. I've obviously just come off mute and I'm talking to everyone, so I do want to start by acknowledging the country I'm dialing in from. I'm on Bunurong country today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and also, I guess, just echo what Sam referenced in the beginning of our meeting around what a historical moment it is to be very lucky to be kind of close-ish to country where first treaty is being signed. I also want to note that in our program, we are constantly trying to think about how and where we can learn from First Nations governance and leadership philosophy. So a lot of credit to kind of, the work that's already being done on these lands in terms of like youth power sharing and governance. I'm Mehak, and I am a program manager at the Foundation for Young Australians, and I'm joined by Siyoda, who is the Young Mayors Program Officer at Hume City Council. And I just wanted to note that even though it's the two of us talking today, there's actually a whole lot of people involved in the Young Mayors program, and it really does take a team to pull this program together and all these incredible minds. So I've kind of put a little visual to demonstrate that there's multiple players and multiple people that form the delivery of a program like ours, and just want to acknowledge them as well in this work. By the way, if I start going too fast, just pause me for questions and stuff, because that can happen sometimes. For those who haven't come across our work yet, just a quick background on who Foundation for Young Australians is. We are a national not-for-profit that exists to back young people in addressing the injustices that they face and supporting them to transform their futures. We do this in different ways across the whole organization, from sort of partnering with national and state and local level campaigns that are led by young people, all the way to the kind of work that I'm talking to you about today. And most often we are working with young people who are at the face of the injustice that is occurring, and trying to sort of shift resources and power to them, sometimes in partnership with institutions as well. So just a bit of an overview, and you can look up what we do if that's of interest. And so then the Young Mayors program is one of the interventions and programs we're working on, and its core is that it's a partnership model. So it's us working in partnership with local institutions in a place-based approach, hence why we work with the incredible team at Hume City Council and other councils. You've heard from one of our other team members, so in Cairns as well. And we're in Cairns, we're in why am I blanking? Mackay, Wollongong, and here in Hume as well. And we've had a few others. So it's all on our website. But it's really set up to back young people in creating local change in their local communities through the appointment of a democratically elected youth council, which then delivers on a priority agenda. And so the model has actually come from a long history in the UK, and has been delivered in sort of different versions, so trying to adapt to the needs of the council or the community we're working with. And on the screen, there's some examples of the kind of difference or the kind of impact we're seeing when we are working with the local councils. So in Cairns, we had a whole lot of incredible young people come out to vote, 3,537. In Wollongong, we had like the 8th Forum youth members there set up a vision around safety and health and equality, education, jobs, the economy, and transport for their community. In Horsham, that youth council had a chance to meet with the Prime Minister and deliver on a really cool tree planting project. So it's all the sort of stuff that happens as part of the program. I won't go into too much detail of this, but really what we've been finding so far that these three are some of the key outcomes that young people are getting from the program. They have a real, I guess, deeper connection to purpose by participating in the delivery of tangible outcomes in their community that they can see and difference that's made. They get to kind of hear from peers around the community about what's most pressing, their skill development through a real experiential lens. So you kind of learn as you do is the model with the program. They get access to networks, whether it's connecting with young people outside of their inner circle, and you would know this very well as well in all your work, but young people are most closely connected to like their school cohorts or their extracurricular cohort. But what we found through this program is they start meeting people in very different life stages and lifestyles than them, but they're local and they can then continue their friendships. And I see this really significantly in our program where we've got some of the young people who had never met before and now they're incredibly tight, like they hang out, and it's really beautiful to kind of see how they have connected. So yeah, some of the things that we've been noticing. This is the sort of simplest form, I guess, illustration of the program, and we're going to go into the details of this, but we basically have kind of like a hype nominations phase in the program where we support the council to socialize the concept and connect with community. We might host some events at that stage, but it's a lot about trust building and then getting young people involved. We have a campaigning phase where nominees are selected and they go through some capacity building on putting themselves out in the community. We have an election week. This is probably our most resource heavy week with staffing, and we're sort of on the ground running the elections, and then we have induction and term in office. And this is probably, again, I would say the juiciest part because it's when the youth council get their hands dirty in some topics that matter the most to them. So today we'll be talking about the young people who went through the Hume Youth Young Mayors program and formed the Hume Youth Council. But we're going to do this a little bit differently to standard presentation. So what we're going to do is play a game with all of you. So hopefully you've got your chat boxes close by. Going to play Who Wants to Be a Youth Council Member? Trivia. So the instructions are really simple. We'll just ask a couple of questions. There's, multiple choice. And you can either just take a guess, you can cheat and go onto the website because we've updated it and answer accordingly, or you can just let us know that you've been following the journey and so you remember the answers from the time of this year. I know there's some Young Mayors members in the room, so you could also just copy them if you know who they are and you've joined the dots. But we're going to ask you to pop your answer in the chat box. Great. Okay, Siyoda, over to you.
Thank you, Mehak. All right, everyone. So our first question for this little trivia Youth Council hot seat quiz is: to be able to nominate for the Hume Youth Council, young people must A, live in Hume, B, live, work or study in Hume, C, be a politics student, or D, all of the above. So if you want to just put into the chat, I was awesome seeing some B's, a lot of B's. Cool, I'll hang around for maybe 3. Yep, okay. I was going to do a countdown. But yes, that's correct. So if you voted B, yep. So young people must live, work or study in Hume.
They can be a politics student if they want to be, it's not a requirement.
True.
All right.
The next question. The Hume region is split into 3 wards. How many youth councillors can be elected? A, 9, B, 12, C, 15, or D, 18? Now, if you were in my breakout group before, I think I might have revealed the answer, but feel free to pop it in the chat. Cool. 3, 2, 1. And the answer is, in fact, B. So we've got 12 that have been elected, with 3,361 young people who voted during the election period to elect those 12. Cool. All right, now let's dive into the next question. We're going to focus on the names of the 3 wards in Hume. So what are they? A, the North, South and West Ward. B, the Craigieburn, Broadmeadows and Sunbury wards. C, the City Ward, Regions Ward and Suburb Ward. Or D, we didn't have wards at all. What do you all reckon? All right, I'm seeing an A in the chat. All right, now we're getting a bit of variation in the responses. I'm seeing A, B, C, and D. All right, I'll give you all maybe 3 more seconds to respond. 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is, in fact, A. We had a North Ward, a South Ward, and a West Ward. So the nominees who are between the ages of 12 to 17 in high school were provided with like information packs and information sessions to learn more about the program initially before they nominated themselves. During the nomination process, the young people had the chance to read a code of conduct and sign it to make sure that we had clear guidelines about how the program was going to be run. Once the nominees were selected, we had 33 who were and 32 who were invited to participate. And 26 young nominees attended the campaign workshops and actively ran for a seat in council. And we had, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but we had about 11 young people who nominated from the North Ward, 11 from the South, and 4 from, sorry, was that correct, Mehak? The numbers I might be getting mixed up.
Very close, yeah. But we had a good spread through the 3 wards, and I think actually I'll let Siyoda talk about the wards.
So yeah, this is a bit of a graphic about how we split up the wards. Actually, in Hume we have 11 wards. So the Hume region is split into 11 wards with 11 councillors elected. But for young people, when we were doing the consultations early in the program, this like idea of wards and having 11 split regions, not even based on like where the suburb ended, was a bit confusing. So through our consultation process, the young people let us know that if the Hume region was divided into 3 areas, the North, the South and the West, it will be a lot more easier for them to like resonate with and understand where like the split was. So when they were voting, it will be a bit easier to vote. And on the right-hand side, you'll see our 12 amazing young people who have been elected into the Youth Council. So we've got 2 from the West Ward, 5 from the North Ward, and 5 from the South Ward. Cool. I'll handball over to you, Mehak, for the next trivia questions.
Oh, yes, great. Thank you. So next hot seat question is, if a young person is elected into Youth Council, what does their year look like? Is it A, it's a 1-year term with fortnightly meetings? Is it B, a 9-month term in office with fortnightly meetings? C, 1-year term but weekly meetings? Or D, they have a 9-month term in office, and every month we take them out to excursions for like indoor trampoline parks or big team building? What do you think? Great, the responses coming through. I like that there's some D's. I would love to take the young people to an indoor trampoline park every month. But the correct answer is A. So they have officially 1 term in office. That's the bare minimum of the commitment, and they have fortnightly meetings. To the person who referenced weekly meetings, there is a chance that you can have alternate fortnight meetings if they decide that they want to have a leadership group within the Youth Council that would meet on the alternate fortnights. But the minimum requirement is fortnightly. Next question. What does FYA and the Hume City Council offer the youth councils? Is it A, funding to implement an initiative in their community, B, mentoring and advice to implement their vision, C, a space to host fortnightly meetings, or D, all of the above? Yeah, lots of responses. That's a pretty straightforward one. It is D. That's why the partnership works really well, because we've got Hume City Council that offers some stuff, FY offers some stuff, and together we sort of scaffold the support around them. And they get some funding, they get access, and they get to spaces and networks, and they get some mentoring as well. Cool. So in terms of how the youth council itself operates, we go through an induction period with them, and that takes place kind of now-ish, November, December 2025. This is probably a really crucial stage to making sure that people feel connected to each other, especially after going through a campaigning period. And they're going to have to work together. So we work on sort of relationship building and helping them with setting up the structure for the year. Then their term in office runs from January to December 2026. And during this time, the youth councils are meeting with peers and consulting on what matters to them, and then working on delivering a priority agenda. It doesn't have to be one thing. They can also subcommittee and deliver on multiple different agendas as well. But it is really the collaboration is the heart of the role. And what's exciting is, I guess, we are able to offer them a grant that covers the cost of delivering on the agenda as well. And that means they get the resources to actually create the impact. Also just a great opportunity for them to be able to influence their communities positively. What we've seen is that the Youth Council are also in this term invited to provide advice and or influence other parts of the council. So, similar to advisory setups, they would get departments come into the meetings and tell them what's going on to then, I guess, learn from and influence. So that's what the Youth Council year looks like. Siyoda.
Awesome, thanks, Mehak. All right, now we've talked a lot about the Youth Council and internally, but let's look at who else is involved externally. So, who else do you guys reckon is involved in the program as key stakeholders? A, schools, community spaces and libraries. B, local businesses. C, construction industry to help with any infrastructure development ideas. Or D, local courthouses. Cool. Getting some responses for A, and can confirm the answer is A, schools, community spaces and libraries. So we've been engaging with schools early on in the program to build interest and build awareness, because it's very fresh for all the schools in Hume. Community spaces and libraries have been involved, whereby we've done consultations in them, engaging with young people in their after-school homework clubs or in our youth services programs as well. But not only that, young people have had the chance to campaign to their community members in our community spaces and libraries. And it's definitely a step outside of the comfort zone for our young people, but it's also a really good way to build their networks and engage with their local community in a very much supported way. Cool. Next question, I'll handball back to Mehak.
Oh, yes. We've already given you a hint on this one. What location are young people allowed to campaign in? Is it online only? B, anywhere as long as they follow the code of conduct, on their local streets only, or nowhere because it's not a real election? Yep, great. Lots of B's coming through, which is the correct answer. So technically, they can campaign anywhere as long as they follow the code of conduct. And actually, where they feel most comfortable and connected to is where we would say that we want them to campaign. They do campaign as independents, so we ask them not to bring any affiliation to any parties that they might have, or even in their families and communities. So we check for that, or we kind of reinforce that in the code of conduct. And then also, I guess, they campaign, as we said, in the libraries. So these are pictures from this year. Or sometimes we've had young people campaign at their local pizza shops, so a little bit of local business involvement, but not heaps. And then we also sort of, with this picture over here, we run an event called Meet the Candidates, where they can put forward their ideas and messages to the rest of the community. And then this year, because we're approaching the social media ban, we've been testing with an Instagram candidates page, but we run that. So I run that, and it means that they can have access to an online space, but they're not allowed to create sort of their own social media handles. If they decide to put stuff on their own personal pages, we ask them to make sure they've got guardian consent and they're following the code of conduct. So it's really trying to provide all these opportunities that work for them. Here's quick, like, I guess, a few pictures of how the school engagement looks like. This is during the election period. We usually have a key contact at each school. It's a really active relationship, and it's often held by the youth services team. And then through that relationship, we promote the opportunity in schools. We run information sessions for the school staff. So we had these morning breakfast sessions that Hume Youth Services ran and invited principals and teachers to go over the program. And then when it's election time, we coordinate with that key contact on hosting polling booths on the school grounds, which is often where the young people campaign the most. We don't have heaps of time, so we're going to speed through these ones.
Next question. What staff roles are required at a young mayor's polling booth? A, queen bee and worker bees. B, polling registration officers. C, welcome officer, polling registrar and liaison officer, as well as ballot box crew. And D, hype maker and ballot super. All right, I'm getting lots of C's and D's and B's. Oh no,
D,
sorry,
C and D.
C's, yeah. Cool. So yes, the answer is C. We've got these roles with about 7 to 8 staff members at each polling site to help run the polls. And during our election period, sometimes we had like 3 elections going on at the same time. So as Mehak said, it was very much like on the ground, go, go, go. But it was a really good thrill, that said.
Yeah.
Cool. What other support is available to candidates? A, campaign budget, workshops, and opportunities to meet community. B, a cheerleading squad, aka the Young Mayor's team. C, none, they're on their own from nominating. Or D, a personal photographer following their journey. I'm seeing D sounds fab. There's a little bit of paparazzi action. And the answer is A. And oh yeah,
I changed that.
Sorry.
We obviously cheer our young people a lot, but it's, yeah, sorry, go on, Siyoda, it's definitely A.
That's so true, yeah. The young people have these supports that are listed in option A, but also we're like always available to the young people, whether it's like pep talks that they need motivation, or even just like looking through the technical aspects of their campaign budget, and giving them a bit of support with how they're designing their posters. It's very much like accessible for them. Cool.
Oh, that's me?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we look after young people in the program? A, we give them a spa voucher for self-care. B, we tell them to look after yourself. D, we tell the parents to do it. Or C, we have a code of conduct that outlines the expectations from young people and staff. Great. So the answer is D. But we also do try and encourage parents to have a role, or community rather, to have a role. So we do also run these information sessions for parents and community, so they know what's going on and their role in it all, because we work obviously with under 18, so we want it to be a real active relationship with them as well. And Siyoda's already kind of referenced this, but this is sort of the support they get. They get a budget for their campaigning, and part of that budget is to ensure that they all have the same. They're not allowed any sponsorship outside of what we provided them. We run the event that we've referenced around Meet the Candidates. We have the code of conduct that we refer to quite often, and we run lots of these information sessions as well. We try and make sure to highlight that the message from this whole experience of campaigning is not just winning, but it is actually this learning and growing experience together. So even though folks who don't get through get a lot from this phase, from campaigning, and a whole bunch of skills. This is just an idea of what I guess we ran this year. So to give you a bit of a high level overview of the kind of workshops that we delivered in the sort of run up to their election period. Okay, sorry, Sam, I know we're almost running out of time, but we only have like a few more slides to go through. Next question. The Hume Youth Council elections took place between the 8th of October and 15th of October. How many polling locations were there across Hume? Is it A, 19? There were 12 schools and 7 locations. Was it just the youth centers that we went to? Did we only go to the high schools, or was it online voting? Yep, a couple of A's coming through. That is correct. In the 6 days, we were at 19 different locations. So it's a really solid effort with a solid team of about 7 to 8, staff per location. And almost all the schools that the candidates came from, we make an effort to get there, and then all the libraries and the youth centers as well.
So next question, I've hinted at this already, but how many young people voted in the first Hume Youth elections? A, 1,582, B, 6,245, C, 3,361, or D, 2,639? Awesome. Glad to know that everyone was paying attention. The answer is, in fact, C.
Probably important to note that of the 3,361, only 1.4% were informal. That's only about 50 votes were informal, which is actually in all our youth council elections. We are young people vote more formally than general elections. I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but we have a really low informal voting rate. It's really great to see, because the young voters are, paying a lot of attention to how they vote, and they're listening, and they're looking through their candidates and talking to them. So it's a real deliberate effort on their part. I think this is our last question. Yes? Should I do it, Siyoda?
Yeah, go for it.
So what vote count did BEC support us to use? Is it A, proportional voting, B, optional preferential voting, C, first past the post, or D, was it a lucky dip? This one can be a guess, because it could be any, really. Lots of B's coming through. So we went through this back and forth a lot with the VEC, and we landed on first past the post for this one. We were trying to do proportional because of the way the wards were split, and then, preferential is usually how it works in Victoria, and we've just gone back and forth so much. But we had a really big candidate pool, and we wanted to. This is the first time we were introducing the concept in the community we were working with. So we decided that first past the post, which is, the candidate that receives the most votes gets elected, was probably the most straightforward one as the entry point. And then we hope to continue to work with the VEC to find ways to make sure that young people are prepared for the general elections as well, and the systems that are used there. That's all from the quiz. Thank you for participating in that, and just being such a great audience in the chat as well. Siyoda, this is for you.
Thanks, Mehak. All right, everyone, I'll try and keep this quite brief, but I'd like to take the time to share a bit about my journey from what I've learned from the incredible young people that I've worked with in the past few phases of the Young Mayor's program, as well as what it means to me to return to youth services, not as a participant, but as someone who helps to guide the next generation. So for a bit of background, I grew up in Hume, and youth services played a huge role in shaping who I am. In 2020, I joined the Youth Action Committee that is now called the Youth Innovation Committee that Youth Services runs. And in this group, my group led a mental health summit aimed at giving young people a safe space to talk about well-being during what was quite a turbulent time in 2020 with all the lockdowns. Along with this, as a young person, I had the chance to serve as a youth representative in several forums focused on community safety, social inclusion, and improving access to youth supports. These experiences were actually one of my first memorable moments, realizing that young people aren't just future leaders, and that young people have the capacity to influence change right now. They taught me the value of having young people at the table, not just, for the presence or for the sake of having like youth advocacy or like youth voice, but as meaningful contributors. And so fast forward 5 years, stepping into the Young Mayors program brought all of that into a full circle. At first, I'll be honest, I did deal with a bit of imposter syndrome. I kept thinking, how am I, you know, as a young person supporting other young people in their journey through like campaigning and elections? Because I went from being the young person who asked the questions to being the one asked questions by other young people. The shift was really exciting, but it was also a step outside of my comfort zone. But working with the Young Mayors team, as well as FYA and Hume, as well as the cohort of the very switched on young people, quickly changed that. The 26 young people who participated in the campaign workshops reminded me about why youth voice matters so deeply. And the curiosity these young people came with, as well as the courage to step outside of their own comfort zone and try a completely new program, as well as bringing lived experience into this program, kind of highlighted how much young people have to share with us. And it's just about us being able to give them the opportunity and the platform to drive this change. When I first started learning about the Young Mayors program early in Feb, I was genuinely blown away by what the young people involved had already achieved. I read about young people in Horsham taking on the initiative to plant 1,400 trees and engaging with other stakeholders to do this. I learned about how young people in Mehak, I believe, delivered youth mental health first aid training, as well as getting the opportunity to attend the National Youth Leadership Forum in Canberra. And all of that just showed me that when young people are given the responsibility and meaningful platforms, they don't just participate, they essentially lead with a purpose. So it was quite inspiring seeing all of that while learning about the Young Mayors program for me. But with this group that I'm working with right now, what's inspired me most is their sense of responsibility. During the campaign phase, I learned about how the young people genuinely have a sense of care to their community. So some of the young people focused on issues ranging from local roadblocks, which provide barriers in accessing their schools, to bring greater awareness about on neurodiversity among young people. So being able to be on the other side with youth services and being supported by FYA feels a bit surreal, because I have the opportunity to help guide these young people. They're leading the change, but to be able to back them and give them the support and guidance from a different perspective, it's super rewarding. And I definitely do see myself in some of the young people that I work with. From the excitement to the uncertainty to the big dreams, I resonate with the group of young people quite a lot. And like I said, I feel very grateful to be part of a system that once supported me, which allows me to give back and help the young people drive change in the Hume community. It's very much a full circle moment. And now fast forward to November, the year's gone so fast. Fast forward to November, we've had 3,361 young people who have voted across Hume and have elected their 12 youth councillors. And this level of engagement just shows how invested young people are in shaping their community's future. One thing that stuck with me through our election period was when we went to a school in Sunbury, and one of the teachers made a comment saying that she's seen young people who wouldn't be like the typical young people who would vote in elections or be willing to learn about democracy and engage in this type of thing, take the initiative to come and learn about what the program was, hear about what their candidates are advocating on, and make their vote. So the program doesn't just target young people who are your stereotypical leaders, it targets a whole range of young people. And I think that itself is incredible and super rewarding to see. So yeah, that's just a bit about the program and my experience working with the young people in the role that I'm doing. We do have our affirmation ceremony coming up on the 11th of December, like I mentioned before, which will be live streamed, held at the council chambers. So this is when our young people, the 12 young people, are officially voted, sworn in as youth councillors, and from next year onwards, they'll begin their term in office to work on a project and put in place an initiative in Hume as the first youth council. So yeah, I'm very excited to be part of that, and obviously super grateful for FYA, Hume, that a program like this existed. Yeah, so stay tuned, watch this space, and we'll be bringing some more updates through Sam to show how the Young Mayors program is going in Hume.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Sam, over to you.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you so much to you both. What a brilliant presentation. I've not seen one presented like that. That format, I thought, worked so well. It was so engaging and so fun as well. Added a real spin to it. I do have two quick questions, and then I'll talk about what we'll do kind of after. First one was for you, Siyoda, about, so you're obviously a young person in a sort of peer leadership role. Was that intentional? Was it identified as a peer leader role, or were you just the person who was successful and you happened to be young? Does that make sense?
I think, yeah, it does make sense. I think it was identified to be a peer led role, just as Tween is doing right now. Tween is also a young person leading young people as well. So I believe it just like lines up with that.
Yeah.
And it's a really good model as well, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. And the other question I think is probably more for you, Mehak. What happens after this first 12 months? Is it like a long-term program and you just repeat the cycle, or do you review it, or what happens?
It's a great question. It varies depending on the council we're working at and the stage they're at. So the hope is for young mayors, for this model of a representative youth council to be across, I guess, all councils. And so what we try and do is work in partnership with the council to find ways to, I guess, pitch and advocate to see the importance of this, and hopefully that the councils themselves take it over as a model that's embedded in their governance processes. So yeah, it really varies depending on which council is at which stage of that relationship with us, whether they're at the beginning and we're kind of doing what I did with Hume City Council, or they're kind of halfway through and now we're getting to a stage where we're handing it over a little bit more. Yeah, so sorry, not a one size fits all answer.
Yeah, no, but I think that's great. As you say, it's like, it's place-based and it's flexible and depends on the kind of, the resources and commitment of the council as well. But
Yeah.
I think just in terms of time, we might wrap it up there. So massive thank you to you both, Mehak and Siyoda. And if you're watching online and you've watched to the end, thanks so much for sticking with us. You can find out more about the Youth Participation Practice Network at yakvic.org.au/YPPN.